When you talk about training, they talk about it as a bank account, but the currency is trust. Like, I need to have a certain amount of trust for the animal to do this behavior, to go into a crate by itself.
Yeah.
And how do you build that trust? How do you raise?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lifeline Podcast. And we have Paulina with us today.
Hello, everyone.
Paulina is one of our new animal care technicians, full-time, and it's been great. You've been with us now, I guess, about a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. What do you think so far?
I am loving it. Comparing, my background is zoological, so I'm really enjoying the comparison of rescue versus just 100% husbandry and training. And I'm also getting the opportunity to shadow Caroline, what she does as a director, the things she gets going, like the podcast, like how she sets up meetings, coordinates volunteers. I think that's fascinating, and I really look up to that.
Awesome. Cool. And well, thank you. And you've been doing such an awesome job. And yeah, I think one of the cool things is your background in the zoological. That's probably not the right term.
I just basically was a zookeeper.
What are some of the differences between the two?
Some of it is very similar because the main basics of husbandry is there. You give food, you give water, you keep everything
clean and
perfectly clean.
Yeah.
We actually just saw a video that you showed us when it's disease prevention. And luckily, we don't have an overpopulation problem, but it really opened my eyes how kennels so close together, when animals are or shelters are so overpopulated, the disease of risk it can cause. And that's why it's so important to have a foster network, a rescue network around you to keep these animals healthy and to keep disease from spreading. You want to give them a home, but the longer they stay, the more chance they have of getting sick.
Yeah.
And the more chance the animals themselves have of not getting better. So it's a very, very different way of looking at things.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was interesting because that was the video that I showed today. I've seen her do that presentation before, and it was like an updated one. And I think the length of stay was a new addition, but it was really interesting. And that was one of her big points is, she went through all the disease prevention and just basic stuff like transmission and different diseases we see. We were talking length of stay.
Mm-hmm.
Length of stay is how long the animal is in the facility. And so the faster the length the lower the length of stay, the less likely they are to get sick, less likely they are to have behavior issues, all of that. So, and that's all on like adoptions, trying to get animals adopted ASAP, trying to get them into foster care right away, and not holding them. And sometimes I do see facilities try to hold animals for just different reasons, and that's usually not in their best interest.
It's not, and that was really eye-opening to see. Also, how people-facing this is, as opposed to a zookeeper that kind of stays in the background and does everything not in the public view. Whereas here, we are the face of our center. So even if they're having a difficult day or they're stressed out because of whatever animal situation they're going through, sometimes it takes a lot of skill to just, swallow that up and put a smile on your face and say, how can I help you? How can we fix this?
Yeah.
And as a zookeeper, you just interviewed animal control. I've never had to deal with animal control. When I worked for a primate sanctuary, we got the animals that were confiscated, but never dealt really, our director did, like you, with animal control officers themselves.
Was that often that you got confiscated primates?
It wasn't often, but it was enough times to be shocking.
Memorable.
And why people would want a primate as a pet, that is like my thing. Primates are not pets. You don't want them as pets because then they're going to end up, unfortunately, in a zoological situation if they can take them in. Or at a sanctuary. And I say unfortunately because it's very, very, very hard to socialize an animal that doesn't know how to be an animal.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see that some dogs don't get along, some dogs get along great, but they've got so many thousands of years of socialization, whereas these animals don't. Their societies within themselves, and seeing that established hierarchy and how one pet can be placed and can potentially get hurt. And you just have to let them kind of work it out because they have to, do their own hierarchical, is that a word? Structure.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So just the comparing and contrasting, I find it fascinating, and I'm really, really, really enjoying.
That was interesting. I remember you mentioning that because we were talking, like in a dog play group or something. If the dogs start attacking each other, we intervene, we go in. And you were saying that with primates, no, you just have to let them, they work it out, which is interesting.
I remember there was a YouTube video, I think it was a gorilla, that two gorillas that were getting into a fight.
Yeah.
And the zoo guests were like, where's the zookeeper? I'd be up a tree. Like, I'm not breaking up that conflict.
Yeah.
You have to let them work it out. And sometimes that could be the hardest thing.
Definitely. I do think that there is something to be said, like, because one of the things, we don't do it as much at Lifeline because we don't have the space for it. But when I was in more of the animal sheltering, were dog play groups, and dog play groups can be super, super beneficial in a facility that has a lot of dogs because it's good for their mental well-being. And a lot of times with dogs, their behavior will decline over time. And so the play groups can assist with that. But it was interesting because I did some training. There's a group, Dogs Playing for Life, that goes out to shelters and trains. And I actually think I learned that I should be interacting less or trying to mitigate conflicts less, and that actually the dogs themselves are still, even though they are, like you said, domesticated, they still have a hierarchy and they still communicate in certain ways, which is interesting. They're different species, even though we have them in our home.
They're completely different species, but you still see kind of the same things, the same issues like hierarchy, like husbandry, like training, animal control. When we were talking about the primate sanctuary where I used to work, we had 16 macaws, and some of them had been confiscated by the owners. For what reason, I am not sure.
Yeah.
But even taking in birds is a huge opportunity, a huge life-saving opportunity, because I read somewhere that macaw in human care will go through about 7 to 10 homes before actually finding a permanent home.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That makes sense. And they have long lifespans.
They're very long-lived, and that's probably a reason why.
And is their care difficult?
You have to know birds. Their circulation is faster. That way, if there's anything going on inside, it's going to spread faster. Their bones are hollow. So any kind of manipulation you would want to do on their legs, you have to be extremely careful. I don't know in what issue you would need to do any kind of manipulation on a macaw.
Yeah.
And their digestive system is completely different. The way they metabolize food is very different. So you have to be aware that you're working with an animal that is ultimately going to hide how bad it feels. So the observations is when that becomes key, and relationship building with your animals. Even our long stay dogs, you need to be able to go in and say, my ex zookeeper team lead used to say ADR, ain't doing right. We need to be, or BAR, bright, alert, and reactive.
Yeah.
But we need to relationship build as much as we can so that we're able to come in and right away say there's something off with Smokey Joe.
Yeah.
That you're able to tell, and that only comes by knowing the animal you're working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. The macaw, are macaws loud?
Very loud.
I bet that is probably also a reason they might struggle with homes. I don't think as much about it, but it is true that there are a lot of different types of animals outside of dogs and cats
That need rescuing.
that need rescuing. Yeah.
And especially little destructive beaks. You know, they
Mm.
explore the world with their feet. They have
Yeah.
wings, they don't have hands. So, you know, they are going to mess up your home. So if you're, you know, a bird fan and you want a macaw for a pet, that's fantastic. But just be aware that it can be a serious lifelong commitment. And you've got to keep any animal in human care enriched
Mhm.
and healthy and stimulated.
Yeah. Good points. That's good. What I think one of the interesting things when we talk, you're like, oh, I worked with like this animal one time and this animal. You've worked with a ton of different animals.
I've been really lucky, yeah.
Yes. So do you have a favorite? And two, is there anything that well, you kind of just mentioned it, that they all need proper care and to be known and to have a relationship. But is there anything else across all animals that you've noticed?
My favorite is one of the special ones that need a huge enrichment. We would even make enrichment calendars. I love primates. I am a primate nerd. I saw a documentary on Jane Goodall when I was little, read In the Shadow of Man, and I was like, give me binoculars, send me to Africa. This is my life.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out that way, but I absolutely love primates, how smart they are, how... I'm sorry, my mind went blank for a second.
No, it's okay. What do you love about primates? Yeah.
I loved knowing how smart they are, how they push you and motivate you. Being a Jane Goodall fan, do you remember the video of her releasing a chimp into the wild and it comes back and hugs Jane?
I have not seen that.
Oh, it's you know, I cried, but I thought that's what it's gonna be like. They're gonna love me. Oh no, they didn't. They would haze me, throw stuff, in some instances spit.
Wow.
Yeah, they will haze you. But then once, and the relationship building may take a little longer with an exotic animal, but it's still the same basic building blocks that you want to use. And once you earn that trust, when you talk about training, they think of it, they talk about it as a bank account, but the currency is trust. Like, I need to have a certain amount of trust for the animal to do this behavior, to go into a crate by itself.
Yeah.
And how do you build that trust? How do you raise that trust account? Well, by relationship building, by providing what the animal needs, whether it's food, maybe it needs distilled water, maybe, you know, you've given nebulizations to a cat, and I was so impressed. I didn't know that we could do that on site. But providing all that special need, providing all the special things that they need is part of, I believe, relationship building too. Training also, it's great enrichment.
Yeah, training. Cool. That's good. And I mean, relationship building is so important, but I'm going to ask you this. So now that you've been in an organization like ours with dogs and cats that are quickly moving throughout the organization, what are your thoughts on how do we still make them feel comfortable even though they're not going to be with us long term, like a zoo might? Yeah.
I love the foster program you've created. I love how they just come in and I don't even have to ask. They just like pick up a broom and start helping. And I believe that through the fosters, and it's even relationship building with them, we're able to sort of keep tabs on the animals we care about. And I think that's fantastic. With adoptions, I've seen you really bend over backwards to make sure an animal goes to the correct person. In the case of Annie, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't a dog that's going to just go to someone that doesn't understand German Shepherds or,
Yeah.
her particular past. Do we need to edit that out? No?
No.
Can we talk about it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Could we? No. Absolutely.
I'm so used to zoos being like, no.
No, I mean, I think transparency is
Mhm.
really is just important, and it's a tough discussion. I mean, we still we in our training this morning we talked about no kill and kind of the base of that, and it's sad and tough, and I think the only way that we work through it is just being honest about all aspects of it. So, yeah, but I agree with you on the relationship building part. And I liked how you said part of it is with fosters and volunteers too. I think that is a huge part of our job is creating those relationships with the animals and the people. And like you said, it's this type of role is also front facing. You are dealing with a lot of humans, and that can be tough. Yeah.
It can be tough for an animal person that's, a little bit, introverted and prefers animals to people. But you got stuck with me, who studied communications and got to zookeeping at a late age. So I wasn't that, needing to stay in the background, whereas some keepers definitely would prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see how that would be different. Has there been any, I don't know, any big experiences in your first few weeks that were either eye-opening or just you learned something from? That's kind of a weird question.
I think the eye opening is everything I've learned from you in this short amount of time and the things it takes, because you have to keep a million balls up in the air juggling. You have, as a zookeeper, I don't need to worry about a board, and I don't need to worry necessarily about funding. I remember when I was in the sanctuary and COVID hit, we weren't guest facing. So we relied 100% on donations, and those dwindled because we were in a pandemic. But it's heartbreaking to see the animals have to suffer because of that. So seeing all the work you do, even this podcast, staying till like 10 at night, bottle feeding, bottle baby kittens, it's really, really fantastic to see and learn from. The nebulization of a cat, I would have never even believed.
That'll save a cat's life. Yeah.
I've medicated a lot of animals, to be sure, but medicating a cat was a first for me, and I'd never seen that before. When
With
we
the
did
pill popper?
no, when we did Panacure with Mr. Skippy,
Oh,
he was not having it. He was
Mr.
absolutely
Skippy was not a
having
good first patient.
But it
Yeah.
takes technique. It takes experience to know, like, nope, this cat is sneezing a lot, or I'm seeing eye gunk or nose gunkies, and what do we need to do? You need to be quick on your feet and especially know what to look out for, which is why I love that training, because it gives the rest of our staff an idea of the things to look out for and tell you. If you don't know, then you can't fix it.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, disease prevention it's like constant. There's always going to be sick animals, and we have like managed intake. We're mostly just having vaccinated animals in our facility, and that's purposeful because we don't have quarantine rooms and all of that. But even with our fully or not, they're not fully vaccinated, but with our vaccinated pets on site, there's a lot of sneezing that goes around and vomiting and diarrhea and
Good times, good times.
good times. And it's also managing that with that's our adoption floor. Like we don't have a lot of places to hide our pets.
Nope.
And that's a unique experience that I've been in that's been unlike any other facility that I've worked in is like sometimes they're just like, that cat does not look good. And you're like, yep. Like we're treating them. They're on medication, but I don't have any place to like put them, so they're just gonna be here. But something interesting that's taught me is adopters are kind of open to it sometimes. I was very surprised by the amount of adopters that will come in and see an animal that's needing treatment and want to take them home.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I actually kind of joke that like I've learned there's people who are like they want a fixer upper. I would jokingly call it like a fixer upper. Like, some person wants to come in and they want their truck from their dealership, and some people want to go buy a truck and fiddle with it and stuff. And I'm like, that's how our animals are. Some people are like, oh, I want to be a part of this animal's
Makeover.
journey to help.
It's a project.
Exactly. And I think that's good for places to know, because in other shelters sometimes that pet might lose their life because it's thought that nobody is there to help them, and sometimes you just gotta let the person see what's needed, and people will surprise you.
The numbers were heartbreaking and so stark. Just from the training we had this morning, it took seeing them sometimes, in a screen in black and white to really hit you like, oh my gosh, that is 40 dogs a day that are being put to sleep, and we get to make a difference doing that. And I think the outreach, I'm in this because I want to make a difference working with animals, but here I feel it's more of an immediate satisfaction, because you are, every time we have an empty kennel is the opportunity to save another life. Those bottle baby kitties you saved, that was a fantastic story. Kittens are a lot of work, so I guess that's why they were in the youth list, but they were otherwise perfectly healthy, viable little kittens that could have made someone so very happy.
And they will, because
you saved their life.
We were able to save them. Yeah, they will hopefully make somebody very happy. But that is the goal. And I don't know. I think I do sometimes get frustrated because I'm like, how did this happen with all these cats and dogs? Like, we're not mass euthanizing primates, I don't think.
I don't know if labs are as transparent as we are and other facilities are trying to be. But I think there's a reason they are not allowing the use of chimps anymore. And hopefully it will be changing. Right now they're using a lot of macaques. And that's why the primary, members of our sanctuary were mostly different species of macaque: bonnet macaque, booted macaque, rhesus, longtail, what have you. Macaques really remind me of cats. They're like, pet me, no. Hiss at you. So I'm wondering, these aren't easy animals. Like, I'm wondering, how are they used in medical care so much? I understand it's a similar DNA, but, to do something, invasive like a blood draw, are they doing training? Is it through like a PVC where, I've seen some primates be trained in a zoological environment to put their hand through a PVC and you're able to vaccinate that way.
Interesting.
Moody Gardens does a lot of that, like non-invasive, less stressful opportunities for the animals. Like the SCC loop we were talking about. As opposed to having the vet come in with like a bigger machine. And if you have like, a skittish animal, if it's used to the trainer, if it's used to the keeper, and the keeper can do it, then that's fantastic. But in the labs, I don't know if they have the time to do training. I know by law they need to provide enrichment, but I don't know what their numbers look like. I have seen a macaque chair, and I'm a mush. You saw me cry at training, but it looks like a torture device. It's a chair with foot straps, arm straps, and a head. I don't want to say head strap, but like a little helmet where it's just impossible for the animal to move. And I understand primates were key, for example, in developing a COVID vaccine. They're heroes. But to test a lipstick, to do something that invasive to an animal for eyeshadow, that I'm not on board with.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board with a quality of life assessment, but I'm not on board just to control populations,
Right.
to just euthanize, because
Yeah.
I think that is a band-aid to a problem. It's not the cure.
Right. That makes sense. So the non-dogs and cats, we think probably they're things that they are exposed to are mostly lab testing. That's really sad.
And I could be wrong. Maybe labs are doing wonderful things. I know they're doing wonderful things. Do I know how invasive the research is? Do I know what they are even researching? I know a friend of mine worked with, it was very non-invasive, lemur vision. So it was kind of, putting a screen and having the lemur differentiate between colors. These were animals in human care at the Duke Lemur Center, but they were not being poked and prodded. In the case of a COVID vaccine or any other vaccine, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's more invasive than that. And I'm really not sure what the numbers are.
Yeah.
If they have like a margin of loss. It's horrible to say, so to speak.
No,
but if you're working with diseases,
there should be some sort of record, probably. Yeah. But okay, that makes sense. And no, and I totally agree. I don't think that I think that euthanasia for dogs and cats has been used as a population control method for a long time, and I think that we're in a time now where we can find better alternatives than that, for sure. But unfortunately, it's a long crawl out of that hole.
Yeah. It has been. And until I saw it in black and white at our training today, I didn't realize what an uphill run it has been.
Right. But also, like, the numbers in comparison to like 10 to 15 years ago, I think I don't want to say the incorrect thing, but I think we've cut in half at least the amount of animals that die every year, or dogs and cats again when I'm saying the animals, but dogs and cats that are dying in shelters. So it's going in the right direction. It's just, how do we keep it going in that direction? And one of the things that somebody who worked at the Leak City shelter and some other shelters has a lot of knowledge mentioned is a lot of it is like, and we brought in training, like legislation, politics, that kind of thing. And I don't really know how to get around that issue because, like, I don't know, what am I trying to say? I guess what I'm saying is, it seems to me like there's clear policies, procedures, and a pathway for you to implement in a facility to have high live release, hopefully around the 85 to 90% at least. And so I don't understand when I see shelters not just doing that, because I'm like, okay, well, there's a really clear thing to do, but convincing people that that's the right path is like the hard thing, which is frustrating.
It's really hard. When I worked at SeaWorld, convincing people that SeaWorld saves 60,000 animals a year, and not have them be deterred by blackfish and propaganda. It's also an uphill battle as well, because once they've made up their mind, or animals in captivity, in human care in general, some people say, I will never go to a zoo. Well, I think we have the opportunity to, animal care, I think, is leaning more towards education. And it's so much of the what is the word? Like on the ground beginnings, educating people and seeing the potential they have to save a life and what it takes and what they need to do, what they don't need to do, from a very grassroots is the word I was trying to think
Okay,
of.
yes.
Same, zoos are really educational facilities because,
Yeah, like when else are you going to learn about a primate, a specific type of primate, or
I think Jane Goodall said it like, we protect what we love and care about. So the first step is to make people care. And that's the tricky bit, I think.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. I've never looked at zoos like that, but I could see that because like with the adoption center, I mean, the adoption center was not based off of a zoo, but it was kind of based off of being a welcoming environment for everybody to come into, regardless of if they want to adopt or not, just to educate, but yeah, just to get people in the door, make them care.
And
like
then
you
word
said.
of mouth happens, and
Right.
they bring friends, and all of a sudden those friends can adopt or volunteer with us, help us with events. I mean, it can grow and grow and grow, which is why I think you've been able to grow our foster network in such a great way, because you're able to do that grassroots outreach, so to speak, and you're able to make people care.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I hope so. I think we are, little by little. And I think like my big thing is I want people to understand that it's not a hopeless black hole, and we are digging our way out of it, and there are things that we can do as a community and as specific organizations to get our way out. It's not hopeless. So
I really liked the fire metaphor used in our training, that it only takes, that match.
a match. Yeah.
But a match is action. You have to find them. Even if you're setting a fire with like 2 sticks, it requires a lot of action. And sometimes just getting started, you're past the hardest part of the thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
And to be able to get to be that spark is the reason I do what I do.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me and letting me ramble on.
No, this was interesting, and again, Paulina came on kind of last minute, so I appreciate that. And we had no script. So
very off the cuff, guys.
Off the cuff and candid. So thank you, and I'm excited. It's been amazing having you work with us.
Thank
you.
You
bring a lot of unique experience. You're a very hard worker.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to learn from us, like you said, and wherever life takes you, we'll take you for as long as we can have you.
Thank you so much. You might be stuck with me.
That's good.
Jinx.
I appreciate that. No, I'm excited about that too. I know I don't like hold any employee or anything like that. I want everybody to follow their dreams and do what they, want to do and what they're passionate about. And
well, Africa is calling, so.
I know. I'm like, you already told me it. What did you say if Disney World called you? The Disney World Zoo or Disneyland?
Magic Kingdom.
Thank you.
I've applied like 4 times.
She's like,
nothing has happened. So
I would
I'm not putting my eggs in that basket.
I will buy you some mouse ears and say, go do it, girl. Go do it.
Da 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 da.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.